Are you sure you're sure? Your colleague seemed adamant.
Yes, what is the Pale?
Okay. The Pale is the most dominant geological feature of the world, Detective. The separative tissue between the islas. It is the inter-islary mass.
Wait, and what is an Isola? Okay, what is the Pale like, and what is an Isola?
Isola is a Messinian word for a continent of matter, enveloped on all sides by the Pale. Also, isolation, or landmass. We used to believe there was only one. In the last 4 centuries, we have discovered 7. Mundi, Seol, Samara, Ilmara, Grad, Katla, and this, Insulinde.
And Insulinde is?
An oceanic isola. It comprises mostly of water. Muindi is the largest, Katla the coldest, Insulinde the bluest. What can I say? Each is perishing and dear.
Okay, what is the Pale like?
Achromatic, odorless, featureless. The Pale is the enemy of matter and life. It is not like any other, or anything in the world. It is the transition state of being into nothingness.
The negation of being.
The negation of...
That's right. The negation of being.
She tightens her hood around her neck. It's cold outside. Is it here?
No, Detective. We're safe. It begins there, 6,000 kilometers to the north, and even more to the south, east, and west. You are in the middle of the Isola.
And there?
An uproar of matter, darling. Rising into the Pale. Rolling. Evaporating even. A great vision. The area of transition between the world and the Pale is called porch collapse. Imagine a grey coronal mist, cold vapor marked by spores of an opportunistic microorganism, a mold that's adapted to grow at the edge of the unrest. It's the most disco thing you will ever see.
What are its physical qualities?
It's difficult to describe, or even measure. Something whose fundamental property is the suspension of properties. Physical, epistemological, linguistic. The further into Pale you travel, the steeper the degree of suspension, right down to the mathematical. Numbers stop working. No one has yet passed the number barrier. It may be impossible.
If we're surrounded by Pale, how do you get from Isola to Isola?
Oh, it is so difficult for us.
A squall of birds. Hardware operating in the harbor. Firm. Self-evident.
It is possible to force dimensions on the Pale. In modern times, we can even compress its latitude, bouncing radio waves from one end to the other, shortening the path. But it is still hard for humans to navigate the Pale without getting lost, or having our minds damaged.
The Pale can damage the mind?
Extensively.
How?
Some say the damage stems from extreme sensory deprivation. Others argue that Pale somehow consists of past information that's degrading, that it's rarefied past, not rarefied matter. They call it the blend over of the self. The Pale does not only suspend the laws of physics, but also the laws of psychology, maybe history even. The human mind becomes over-radiated by past.
Who says and who argues?
Who says and who argues? What does this over-radiation feel like? Who says and who argues?
The logical positivists say, the dialectical materialists argue.
Okay. What does this over-radiation feel like?
It feels terrible. Absolutely terrible. International standards strictly limit civilian travelers to 6 days of Pale exposure per year.
It's more for her. Way more.
You're not a civilian passenger?
No, Lieutenant Dubois. I'm entreprenetic business class. I'm cleared and trained for 22 days of Pale transit annually.
Someone else you've met may have been exposed as well. The strange grey-haired woman
Oh,
in
yeah.
the lorry.
Do lorry drivers pass the pale?
Yes. Carried in the hulls of airships. It's a horrific job. Automation will abolish it soon.
You should ask the pal driver about this. See what she says.
Are you over-radiated?
Up to my gills, officer.
What's anthroponetic?
Entreponetics is the scientific study of the Pale, or a recent iteration of it by way of Grad. The study of the Pale reaches back 6,000 years. The Pericarnassians called it the Western Plain.
They have not traveled the entire circumference of the Pericarnassian Super E Solar. It was not merely in the west, it was everywhere, even then, surrounding them.
Did they cross it, the Western Plain?
There are signs of pretermodern crossings. Successful navigation of the Pale relies not just on technical know-how, but intensive psychological preparation. Some of these tactics have been known for thousands of years.
What has anthroponetics changed then?
Nothing. We remain powerless before the Pale. The only real advance in Pale transit is the speed with which an aerostatic craft can pierce it. Less exposure leads to less effects later.
Aerostatic craft?
Hybrid airships, Detective. Conventional rotors or jet engines no longer add velocity after the point of reference for motion is suspended, once you've crossed from near Pale to far Pale. In essence, we throw them in and they come out the other end. If we throw them precisely.
If we do not?
Then they don't.
That's
Gone,
worrying.
like a skipping stone beneath the surface.
How much pale is there compared to the world?
The Pale outweighs reality 2 to 1. There is more Pale than there is matter, and the ratio is slipping.
Slipping how? To our detriment, or?
What do you think, Detective?
It's growing, there is more and more of the pale.
Precisely. One of the few measurable effects of the Pale is that it is expanding at an unknown rate. An intuitive conclusion of that development is that one day the Pale will cover everything. But this sort of talk is mostly left to extremists.
It's not extreme at all, it's going to happen. Cover everything? That can't be... Where would we go? Or stay silent? Let's stay silent.
Most people, and indeed most private and government sector organizations, entire civilizations and religions even, find handy ways to ignore or downplay that knowledge. I suggest you do the same.
Gulp.
It doesn't look like you're doing the same. The suggestion was meant in earnest, Detective. Live life.
Okay, let's return to reality, please.
Yes, sweet reality. But before we do, tell me, Detective, is this the first time you're hearing this? Do you really not remember anything?
Nothing, just alcohol fumes and blackout. I sometimes sense vague shadows of a past and it's not good. I'm getting a sense of who I am, but no, I didn't know this. I sometimes sense vague shadows of a past and it's not good.
Then tell me, what do you think of the Pale?
It's terrifying, you're right, it's disco. It will end all life. That we continue to persist at all is a testament to our faith in one another. Its advance can only be stopped with immediate, total, ruthless communism. A powerful anti-communist force, perhaps too powerful, but still, they have it coming. I'm worried. I have to say it doesn't sound very liberal to me. I don't know how you've survived, how you've all survived with it. It's a huge accomplishment. Who am I to think anything of it? It's terrifying. Her eyes tense, crow's feet radiate from them. She observes you, your bloodshot eyes and swollen face.
You really didn't know. This does not spell good for the investigation, Detective. If you don't know even this, then...
She stops mid-sentence. I'll handle it, it's under control. This investigation will be my masterpiece. The one they remember me by, I promise. Yes, I'm in serious trouble here. It'll be a fucking disaster, I know it. All those people will die. This investigation will be my masterpiece.
I hope so. I truly do. If I may suggest, hold on to your colleague, Kitsuragi. I ran a check on him and he is very competent. In the meanwhile, you have me. I will assist you in any way I can, even if we have to do it one basic term at a time.
She gives you a slight bow.
Good. You have not passed out from it. Perhaps I worried for nothing. Are we still on the reality lowdown, or should we do actual police work now?
That was fucking insane, Kim. Right, let's get to work, Lieutenant. Some more reality lowdown before we go. That was fucking insane.
Yes, well, the rest of us have dealt with it for thousands of years. So
He looks around a little uncomfortable now.
You will have to deal with it, too, the lieutenant thinks. This is why I didn't want you to know.
Some more reality lowdown before we go.
I am happy to oblige.
What is this? Spread your hands.
Bird? A Svenicid? A flightless bird of the polar regions?
Keep guessing? Am I really that awkward? I meant, what is this place here?
Ah. This is the pier of Rue de Saint-Ghislaine, 33A, where the tenants have been kind enough to rent me a slot. Or two.
What is Rue de Saint-Ghislaine 33A?
A pre-revolutionary tenement. Old buildings are called tenements, you see. And new buildings, bâtiments. After les bâtiments nouveaux. But 33A and 33B are not nouveaux. They're old.
She looks up at the crumbling facade.
This one used to be 8 to 10 stories tall. A real high-rise by the standards of the last century. Built to mirror the skyscrapers across the bay in the Delta. That was before the war, of course.
Who lived in them?
Mostly the urban middle class, I believe. This was once primo real estate, before the cannons lopped 4 or 5 stories off. Splat, splat.
From a dilapidated balcony, Cindy the Skull gives Joyce the evil eye, her red paintbrush held to her throat.
You could be wrong, but from here it appears as if she's running the brush across her throat in a soaring motion.
Wonderful.
Okay, what is that? Point to Cindy the Skull.
The girl in the old lady rags.
Yes.
Looks like a sullen and rebellious member of a teen infraculture.
Infraculture?
Yes, you and I belong to the supraculture. We're common, the herd. The music on the radio, the food in the chain restaurant, those are all too popular for the girl in the old lady rags. She prefers a fantasy world, an infraculture with its own dress code and vernacular. It is an illusion, I'm afraid. There is no refuge from the supraculture.
Okay, now explain the same thing but to a child. I understand everything, make it more complicated somehow. Sure.
I can't. That's how simple it is. One may dye their hair green and wear their grandma's coat all they want. Capital has the ability to subsume all critiques into itself. Even those who would critique capital end up reinforcing it instead. All right. What next?
Suddenly, you're not so sure you're part of the supraculture.
I think I may be part of an infraculture.
And what would that be?
I don't know, I just feel it.
Ah, yes. That is what counts, I suppose. For my part, I was more of a new girl.
The new?
The new. A cultural era. And the name of the decade it ravished, the 30s. It came out of post-revolutionary Revachol. It was ultra-liberal. It involved lots of partying, as you might imagine, and champagne-colored everything. By the looks of it, that would have been when you came of age. Now,
She raises her eyebrow at you. Sounds fun, I can't remember a single thing. Champagne? That doesn't sound like anything I'd be into. I'm straight edge, sure. Got it. Let's take it back to reality central for the next one. Um, Sounds fun, I can't remember a single thing.
Wasn't it Guillaume Le Million who said, if you can remember the new, you weren't there?
Wait, Guillaume Le Million? I was just thinking about that guy. Whatever happened to him?
Ah, yes. This is not very central to reality, is it?
I still want to know.
I can't be 100% sure, but I believe he died due to complications from venereal disease.
Which one of those?
All of them.
That's impressive. So you're saying he didn't vanish in a puff of stardust?
I'm afraid no. But then again, one can't be entirely sure. It's all part of his mystique. Ask someone else and you may get a more champagne-colored take. Anyway, what other basic facets of reality should we discuss?
Is there a new option in there?
Nothing more nor less than the de facto law enforcement body of post-revolutionary Revachol, Detective.
Yes, we are the Revachol Citizens Militia.
He's being sarcastic.
Are we?
We are.
You said de facto?
Yes, that means not de jure. The RCM acts in what is poetically called the twilight of international law, both at the behest of the coalition government and to its chagrin.
That's it for the who I am part then.
Permit me to conclude with this. Who you are to me is the police, the only legitimate law enforcement authority in Revachol. And if those authorities drink so hard they need help recalling the basic terms of reality, well, I am here to help.
Well, thank you for that. Let's conclude for now.
Glad to have been of assistance. The little
Thank
that
you.
I know. Anything else?
Thank you. That's all for now. Well, what was it? We need perception, right? That's down here to give the nothingness another go. The whole of nothingness. But now let's go to the old lady and ask her about the pail. Maybe she can tell us more about that. Oh, what's that? Oh, it's just some tear. Okay, I'll take that. Alrighty then, let's run over to the traffic jam. And after that, I'm going to the church again to give Listening into the Void another go in order to set up the what's it called, the you know, the place for the guys in the tent. You know, get her out of there and see if, you know, that's gonna lead to anything. I mean, probably not really, but that's okay. Alrighty then. So where was the pale driver? That was over here. Yes, there she is. Hello there.
The woman is still hunched over the railing, her head swaying to the music, her eyes looking at nothing in particular.
Let's snap our fingers in front of her face.
Huh? What is it? What do you want?
I think I know what's going on with you.
And what is that?
She sticks a filterless cigarette into a cigarette holder and reaches for the light. You're a pail driver. You transport goods through the pail.
Great. He asked the Pines rep about the pay, and now he's talking to everyone about it. Fine then. Just try not to black out again, and don't contemplate. We don't have time for that.
Okay.
It's death, but for the universe, oh, we're contemplating the living shit out of this.
Oh, I'm contemplating, Kim. I'm drawing existential conclusions from this. Yeah, no, just for detective work. That's all I needed it for. Now, everything is related to the pale. My condition, this case, everything. It's all anthroponetic. Let's go with the third one.
That is exactly what I didn't want you to think. Ma'am, my partner wanted to know if you work in Pale Transport.
No offense. But your partner?
She lights the cigarette. A white and silver cloud of smoke disappears into her mouth.
Seems like a bit of an idiot.
She breathes out. The air tastes sweet.
Republica, a filterless cigarette from Mist.
Republica, smell the air, that's not very healthy. I blacked out after a night of heavy drinking and lost all memory of the world. I blacked out from sheer heartbreak and lost all memory of the world. I'm not an idiot. I'm a detective of the RCM. Don't say I'm an idiot. Don't put into the newspapers that I was owned or something. That I got mad. That's the one. I blacked out.
Like Gabriel Buenguerro in Pergunte a Poeira. You're the opposite of me, then. I remember everything. Even things I never knew.
Things you never knew?
The smell of liquor on Gabriel's lips after the shoot. In the motor park. The roses on the day of Franco Negro's coronation. On the grand stairs of Ryle. The smoke from the Fowling Peace when Dolores Day was shot. The look on her face, like an orgasm. The wound in her chest. My hand in my father's hand. Except I never had a father. And I never shot her innocent Dolores Day.
Over radiation?
Heroic doses, Herifia. Heroic.
Isn't that dangerous?
Thought insertion? Dithering? The Grad Catalan Magistral? It's more than dangerous. It's sad. But at first I had to make a living. Now, when you've seen it all go away like that, rolling off like the sea, and then come back to this...
She gestures at the square, the broken horse monument, the clanging of machines in the distance.
What are we doing here? For thousands of years, Gabriel. It doesn't have to be like this. We can just give up. We can just become a vapor.
What does it look like, the Pale?
Like looking into the ocean at night. In the dark.
And?
You cannot see it, but you know it's there. And it's big, bigger than anything. Bigger than all the other things combined.
What does it feel like?
Nothing. Until it starts. When you are deep enough. Then, for me, it's like autumn. Dark, gray, and orange. The orange of street lights and the color of streets in the electric light. It smells like autumn too. It smells terrible.
Nostalgia. Cooped up in the cabin, shaking. Terrible nostalgia. For yourself. For humans. It's too much to bear. She loves it.
How do you pass through it?
In the belly of an airship, behind the steel windows. So you don't look straight into it. It's not advised to look into it.
Not on this lorry then?
No, the same one, a roller. They all are nowadays. Special wheels for connecting to the floor of the hold.
She points to the machines clumped up like toys.
The wheels all small and round. Multi-axle trailers.
One last thing. You said we can just become vapor.
Yes.
Wonderful.
No elaboration.
I would rather have what I have than what you have. I would rather have what you have than what I have. I feel I already have what you have in some way.
They say there is a point. One that I have not crossed. In the Pale Super Deep. If you stray too far, of course, on the U41A. Or in Lomonosov's land. Where every step you take is one step further from home. No matter the direction. It's a point you cannot come back from. Your mind becomes so radiant with the past, there is a flip. Instead of writing, it erases memory, nearing some kind of indescribable finale. Maybe you've been down the motorway south?
She looks at her cigarette. It's almost out. She has swallowed it hungrily. Then at you. Okay, the motorway south?
It's a story as lone horsemen tell. Lone horsemen, Jerife, not pale drivers. way beyond the established spell that's lit by radio frequencies, where it goes silent and dark, and the process begins, erasure, kilometer by kilometer, in any direction. The motorway south is a road you cannot come back from.
Well, then I haven't been there, have I?
In the center of this town, there's a ghostly motorway, she sang.
It takes all the people where they want to stay. What is at the end of the motorway south? It takes all the people where they want to stay.
They say I've been away on a kind of holiday.
She replies silently. What is at the end of the motorway south?
No one knows what's at the end. I've only glimpsed the beginning. I've only felt it in the distance, when I was a child. A child rowing on the lake.
Okay, ma'am.
Josiane.
A sigh escapes her lips, then silence as she stares within herself.
There is nothing more to do now. She's far away. She is receding in the clutches of some indescribable scattered emotion. A child descending.
You've fried both your brains enough for today, detective.
He inspects her, no response.
Let's get some air. This one's far gone.
He shakes his head silently as he turns to leave. Okay. So... something here, right. We have a new thought. Motorway south. Temporary research bonus. minus one visual calculus. Bizarre angles. Research time 8 hours and 10 minutes. The problem, at the edge of the map, the landmass begins to disintegrate into pure trigonometry. The ocean melts, becoming a tangle of sines and cosines. The mountain range turns into a sharp-angled azimuth. Its green rain shadow dithers like music, turning into a waveform, and then vanishes. This is the end. A half-remembered textbook from your childhood. The porch collapsing on the edge of the Isola. A transition from reality to pale. A single vector shoots out like a rocket. It's the motorway south, splintering off from the known pale. To where? Where does it go? Okay, we can't internalize it right now because we don't have any free spots. But there's already way too much to internalize it all. Okay, so we have leveled up here the perception thing. Right, we can now go back to the church and give it another shot. Maybe this time it works. Who knows? Or maybe it's just something that, despite the percentages, you can't actually succeed in. I don't know if that's a thing in this game. But, yeah, I guess we'll see when we're there. Though, of course, I can't upgrade the perception any further, so... that's a bit unfortunate. Do you have anything new to say? Probably not, right? Before we leave?
Stuck in the rain in a traffic jam, man. What's on your mind?
We could this time succeed this. Our conceptualization is higher now, I suppose.
Wait.
Yes.
There's something here, stored away in some dusty corner. It starts like